a friend of a friend, of many friends actually, none of them close, shifted closer to her and nudged her so she toppled from the arm of the couch onto her lap. "That's better," Adaa said, and touched Sadie's face, and Sadie shrugged and looked away. Sadie was wearing a plain white singlet and dark skinny jeans, an outfit that would barely contain Ada's body, but sat neatly over Sadie's. Adaa wanted to ask her about her name, because Sadie was Australian, and no Australians were called Sadie. There was this famous song from the 70s about a cleaning lady called Sadie, and since then everyone avoided the name, so she said, "Sadie, what's with—" But Sadie was already talking to the person on the other side of her. The party had divided into a grown-ups and kids' table vibe, with Ada's friends firmly at the kids' table, which was covered in baggies and squashed-up cigarette papers with gum inside. Sadie was talking to confirmed adults, the actors who got reviewed by the Times, and the comedians who were regulars on Mock the Week and didn't cheat on their wives. Adaa knew that Sadie was a playwright, because every Australian at the Fringe was vaguely aware of every other, and the people in this circle wanted to talk to her, so she was probably pretty good. But when Adaa leaned in to join the conversation, Sadie made space for her, slightly squeezing out the older woman with the Rada accent who had opinions on Sadie's career and no opinions at all on Ada's. Sadie liked her enough, Adaa decided, for this morning only, and the morning would end soon. Chatting about a song would waste their time, so she tapped Sadie's arm and when that didn't work, pulled on her ear so she had her attention. Adaa said, "Can I take you home now?" And Sadie said, "You don't want to stay longer?" And Adaa said, "It's morning." And Sadie said, "Okay, I'll get our coats." It was weird to hear an Australian say, "I'll get our coats," Adaa thought, but didn't say because she didn't want their only connection to be their foreignness. Watching TV as a child lying backwards on her parents' couch under a spinning fan, and the mum on screen is saying, "Get your coat, we're leaving," or the nanny whispers, "Children, get your coats," or the man leans into the woman and says, "Should I get our coats?" No one ever told Adaa to get her coat in her whole sunny childhood because she simply didn't own one, and the ritual collection of coats as a means of exit was a Northern Hemisphere fantasy. Now Adaa had 3 coats, none of them good. Sadie was getting one of those bad coats when Bernie touched Ada's arm. Bernie was probably 35 in human years but had an eternal carny spirit, always at a festival, the host of the party, though this wasn't his flat. He had also hosted the mixed bill show that Adaa had performed on that night, where she sang a passable version of Nothing from a chorus line for drink tickets, a holdover from her musical theatre phase. Bernie liked her in the neutral sort of way men in their 30s liked her, because she was rude to them and conciliatory, and discreet to any age-appropriate wives or girlfriends who would show up along the way. "You're not leaving," Bernie said, and then, without pause, "Something for the road?" And he opened the bathroom door and Adaa followed him in. She said, "You should be leaving too, old man." And he laughed. 35-year-old men loved to be called old, though it had less of a hit rate when they were 45. And he said, "You're probably right, but tomorrow we go back to real life," as he racked up 4 thick lines. Adaa bent over the unsteady board he was holding. Did he take this from the kitchen, or did whoever owned the flat keep chopping boards in the loo? And inhaled, once, twice, then paused to watch Bernie take one of his own. Sadie knocked on the door and asked if she was ready to go. Adaa offered Sadie the final line. "Hey," said Bernie, and Adaa laughed and said, "No more for you, Pops." And Sadie leaned over and inhaled. After she stood up, she took Ada's hand and the board hit the floor and they sprinted through the flat, opening the heavy door with 3 locks, and down the stone stairwell into the grey entranceway with bikes and flyers with bike tracks on them all over the floor. They made their way out onto the doorstep, and Adaa turned to Sadie and pinned her lightly, watching her face in the pink and grey. They shivered, and Adaa was briefly annoyed because, yes, it's dawn, but shouldn't it be warmer than this? Then she kissed Sadie and tasted Coke in her mouth. She pulled away and said, "I had to make sure we had chemistry before you came home with me. Wouldn't that be embarrassing?" And Sadie smiled and closed her eyes and said, "Yeah."